Slides, pictures of Sisters Beach. Who's been to Sisters Beach? You have. But only a good spot, isn't it? And also, we're going to the Rocky Cape National Park. And it's in Sisters you'll see birds and some seeds, native orchids. Can you all hear me?
No, speak up.
Hey!
That's it.
All right, I'll shout.
I can get the mic for you. Would that be better?
Mine?
Might be a good idea.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. Yeah, we go with the mic. Yeah, don't go to sleep, will you?
Yeah.
I just don't know where to put this. I usually put it all on the table.
Well away from the microphone.
There's no real hurry, is there?
No, well, nobody's going anywhere.
No,
Except all the people that have been good enough to come
they won't let us go, will they? They won't let us go home.
I like his knickerbockers. Do you? Yes, I do. Alice, you behave yourself.
Then, and anything, I'll look behind the thing, Kevin. That's all right now. Okay. Well, we've titled this Our Birds, so we'll keep moving.
Hang on a sec. I'll put this in here somewhere, Trevor, because just open the legs
Yeah. Is that better? Okay. Now that's the area we're going into. That's Sisters Beach and Rocky Cape there. I suppose some of you have been there sometime. I reckon you have. Most of you have. Good on you. Okay, well we'll move on then. That's the same area and in colour, showing the clouds and the sea. Can't you see that?
Really, really clear.
Just open your eyes up, Dolphy. Open your eyes, Dolph.
I got them right over.
Oh well, you'll see some of it. Okay, Kev, we'll move on. That's another one, showing some of the farmland there and the Rocky Cape in the background. Okay. Now, anybody recognise that? Blue Lagoon. I don't think so. That's Boat Harbour Beach. Boat Harbour, yeah. Hey? Oh, Sisters Beach, I'm sorry. I thought the other one was... I don't know myself, you see. Sisters Beach, okay. Now that's Boat Harbour. That's where the creek... Is it? No. Oh, Sisters Beach, yeah, I'm lost. Okay. That's another shot of Sisters Beach. Now what we're going to do, we're going along the beach and we're going to show you the birds that live on the beach. Now I don't have to tell you what that one is, do I? You all know a seagull when you see one. Okay, well, you know that one? That's a bigger bird you see on the beach. It's called a Pacific gull. Black and white. You seen that one? I reckon you have. Okay. Now you may not have seen these. These are called crested tern. See, they've got little crested hats on, and they are found on the beach too.
Did you take all of these?
Yeah, we took all of these. Yeah. I sort of specialise in photographing birds. feathers sort of. Okay, good. That's the same birds in flight. Lovely wings. Oh, and a seagull, a couple of seagulls there too. Okay. Now these are tern, but they are different ones. They're called Caspian tern. You know, this one in front sitting on eggs. They also live on the beach down there. Thanks, Kev. This is a fairy tern. It's a baby one, a little one. Nice little bird. Okay. That's the same bird with its wings spread. Can you see it? Good? Okay, thank you. That's the same bird sitting on its nest, close up. These pictures are all taken close to the birds. Okay. Now here's a fine gentleman, or is it a lady? Probably a lady, because she's admiring her eggs. She's saying to herself, oh, I'm going to have 2 lovely babies soon. And it's called a pied oyster catcher. The beak, the long beak, is used for prizing shellfish off the rocks. That's why it's called an oyster catcher. Thanks, you. There's the same bird, and if you've got good eyes, which you may not have, there's a little baby bird just below its beak there. That's one of the young ones that's hatched out. Same bird. Sometimes they call it a red bill because of that lovely red bill they've got. Okay. Now, this bloke, he wasn't about when the white was put on, so he's all black. He's called a sooty oyster catcher, same family, red beak, and he's got a nest there in the rocks. Good. Now these are nice little birds that you find on the beach. We used to call them dotterels, and that's probably what you'd call them. Now they're calling them plovers, but they're a different sort of plover to the one we know. And that one's the hooded dotterel with its eggs there, 2 eggs. Okay. There's the same bird with 1 egg hatched out and 1 yet to go. So it's got a baby there, sitting on it, looking after it. Okay. Now this little fellow, in the same family, it's called a red-capped dotterel because it's got a little red cap on its head, you see?
Can you see it okay?
And 2 eggs.
Because I can move, I can't see.
Can't you see? Can you get anywhere else or you can move closer?
It's all right, Trevor.
Okay. Right, we'll move on then. Same bird, sitting on its eggs, red-capped dotterel. Okay. Now, anybody know what this fellow is? He's pretty common. He's called a cormorant, a white-faced cormorant there, and that's got a nest on the rock there. Okay. And there's a family of them. The little grey ones without any white, they are the young ones, and there's the parents with them there at the nest. In fact, there are 2 nests there together. Okay. Now this is not a bird. What is it? You recognise it? A little crayfish? A crab? And he lives, it's a crab, he lives in that shell. That's his home. And he just popped out so I could take his picture. He said to me, take me picture, I'm a good looking fella. Okay. Now you all know what this is. I've been down the street today and I saw one of these on the river. We see them in our creek occasionally. It's a pelican, isn't it, with a big beak. We'll show you the beak now. There's his beak. Got a pretty beak, hasn't he? Nicely marked. Yeah. Okay. Now, we're going to move away from the beach a bit. And this is a sea eagle, a white-breasted sea eagle. And they live down there. And they've got nests all along the coast where suitable. Okay. That's the same bird sitting up in the tree. See his lovely hooked beak? Okay. Now we've got some plants. These little fellas, they're like little peas. They're called running postmen. And you find them on the ground, just the type of pea. And the white ones are quite rare. The red ones are common. The running postmen they're called. Okay. Now, you've probably seen these fellas. They've got various names. Some people call them kangaroo tails or black boys. If you want to give them their right name, they're called xanthoria, and they grow down there. Lots of them. Okay. Now this is our great Banksia tree, Banksia serrata, and they're grown all around Sisters Beach and Rocky Cape, and that's the tree in flower. We'll show you the flower now. That's the flower of the Banksia. It's a nice flower and it's full of nectar. The birds feed on it. They love it. Okay. Now this is the plover that you know. You've all seen this bird, I reckon. It's we used to call it a spur-winged plover because in the next picture you'll see the spur, but it's really called a masked plover because of the mask on its face. 2 eggs there, okay. Now there's the pair, and you can see those spurs at the edge of their wings. They swoop down at you, as you probably know, but I can't ever remember anybody being hurt by them. They only frighten you, that's all. But they are the spur-winged plover, or the masked plover. She's sitting on eggs. Okay. Oh, that's a close-up of the head, and that shows that masked section from where it gets its name from, the masked plover. Okay. Now you may not have seen this little fellow. He's called a chat or a nun, a white-faced chat. And they are little birds that live down there. Not very many now. They've got a bit scarce. Okay. Now we're moving up to Lake Llewellyn. You've probably seen this lake. You can see it from the road as you go in. And there are birds that live on that. And we're going to show you the birds that live on Lake Llewellyn. Okay. Oh, well, this is another shot of the lake. That's not a bird. It's a boat. That's a grebe. See his lovely head? He's called a hoary-headed grebe. And he makes a floating nest on the lake and makes that of reeds. And there he rears, or she rears her family. Hoary-headed grebe. Okay. You all know what that is. Who knows what that is? Nobody. It's a duck. It's a black duck. Much the same as the ducks that you might have had in your yard when you had a chook yard. That's the black duck. Thanks. And there she is with the babies. Look at those beautiful babies. And the next picture, which we'll see now, shows the mother duck with the babies on the lake. There they are, little ducklings and mother duck on the lake. Okay. Now this fellow, you've probably seen this one, it's quite a common bird. It's called a Tasmanian native hen. And Tasmanian because only found in Tasmania, nowhere else. And quite a common bird around the farmlands and reedy, rushy places, the native hen. Okay. Now, you may or may not have seen this one. It's a heron. It's a white-faced heron. You can see where it gets its name from. And there are some babies in the background. It's got a nest up in a tree. Okay. That's a bit unusual because I was sitting in a hide. A lot of these photos are taken out of a hide, which is a covered area that I can sit in. The birds don't see me, but this one did see me. And she put her head up and said, well, I think she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm taking your picture." And so that's it. Okay. Now we're going back a bit further into the forest where the tree ferns, or we call them man ferns, don't we, and eucalypts, blackwoods, dogwoods, real rainforest area. So we're going to have a look at the birds that are found in the rainforest. Okay. Oh, that's not a bird, that's a blueberry. That grows in the rainforest there too, climbing blueberry. Okay. A bit of fungi. Suppose you've all seen this. Fungi that grows in shaded areas. You get some quite unusual formations and also colours. Okay. That's the same species, it's a fungi but quite different from the other one. Tall with little caps. Okay. Oh, we've come to the end of the first round. It's like fingers, isn't it, really? Quite different. Okay. And that's a different one again. They're all in the same family, they're all fungi. There's another one yet, we'll have the next one. Yeah, that one's different altogether. It's got a serrated edge and a big leaf and it's right flat on the ground. What's the name of it, Mary? Where is she? Helmet. That's a helmet. That one, called a helmet. So, I think it's really an orchid, isn't it? Yeah, it's an orchid, that one. It's not fungi. That comes in the orchid, a native orchid.
That's a flower.
Aye?
It's a flower.
A flower. All right. I'll have an argument in a minute with my wife. Okay, next one. That's a nice little orchid, that one. What's that one called, Mary? Guns orchid, and that grows up in the trees. Lovely little flower, white with a little greenish, reddish centre. They grow down there. We got them growing on near our house, actually. Okay. Now the birds that live in this rainforest area, they're fairly dull little birds. This one is. This is a scrub wren, a brown scrub wren. And that's his nest there, right amongst all the rubbish on the ground. Good. Thanks. This is another little bird, a scrub tit, this one. He lives in the same type of habitat amongst the ferns and big dark area where there's not much sun. The white-breasted scrub tit, white-throated scrub tit, that one. Tasmanian only, found only in Tasmania, okay. This is a nice bird. This is a ground thrush, and he's nicely marked, and he makes his nest there in the banks here usually. We'll move on. There's the parent bird, mother or father. It could be either because both birds feed the young. See what it's got? It's half a worm. It's pulled it out of the ground, I reckon, and broken it off. And so it's brought this half worm in to feed the young ones. Okay. Now, if you were to give this bird a name, I wonder what you'd call it. I'll tell you what I'd call it. I'd call it a white eye, because that's what it's got, hasn't it? A white eye, or a silver eye. And a nice little bird, and the nest in particular is nice. It's a moss nest, and we'll see a bit more in a minute. Okay. There she is, sitting on the nest like a little cradle, isn't it? Swung from the trees. That's the silver eye and its nest. Okay. Now, this is a pigeon, a bronze-winged pigeon. It's a wild pigeon, and they're in the area too, quite common, bronze-winged pigeon. I expect you to remember all these birds' names. Oh, there's a nice one. That's a nice bird, isn't it? It's called a golden whistler because of the lovely yellow underneath and the back of the head. And there, that's the male, that's father. And he's got a lovely grub for the baby. I don't know which one got it. They all wanted it. Okay. And believe it or not, that's the mother. She hasn't got any colour at all. So she's not very conspicuous, but that's good because when she's sitting on the nest, she's not very easily seen. And that's a good thing. So that her enemies can't see her and rob the nest and even kill her. So that's the female golden whistler with a moth for baby. Okay. That's the same bird flying into the nest. Just caught her as she landed with her wings out. Okay. Now, you hear some funny things when you are watching birds. What happened there, father bird on the left, he arrived with a big grasshopper with great big hard legs, and he popped it down Junior's throat, and Junior nearly choked. And Mother said, "You silly old thing, what are you doing? You'll kill the little fella." And so she'd go and crook at him, you see. Funny the things you hear when you're amongst... Anyway, that's what I think she said, eh? You got your word for it. I wouldn't tell you anything wrong. Anyway, that's what I thought was going on. Okay, move on. Now this isn't such a nice picture, is it? I was sitting there waiting to take a photo of the bird, and this big snake, it was a big one, he slipped up the tree quite quickly, grabbed the little birds out of the nest, and down he went. And that all happened in about 2 or 3 seconds. He's very quick. I came down and tried to chase him away, but he'd already had the young ones. It was too late. They'd gone. And that happens in nature. Okay. These are olive whistlers. They've got a family there too. The father's got the white throat, the mother's got it back to us there. They're olive whistlers. They're called whistlers because they have got a very nice call. And when you're out in the bush, you hear these birds calling, and you can tell what they are by their call. Okay? Now, this is another difficult one because mother or father, I think it's father actually, turned up with a stick insect. You can see the stick insect in his beak, and it was trying to shove that down Junior's throat. Of course, it was a bit difficult. How could Junior eat a big, hard stick insect? But eventually, he got it down. So there you are. Okay. Now, this is a nice little bird. Makes a nice nest. It's called a fantail. The next picture will show you what's called a grey fantail. Okay. There you are. The tail can be spread just like a fan, and that's where it gets its name from. And the nest is interesting. It's made out of bark, a long nest, and it's covered with cobwebs to keep it all together. And quite a unique little nest of the grey fantail. Okay. Another little Tasmanian bird. It's a scrub tit, and it's only found in Tasmania and lives in the deep forest areas. Very small bird, this one. And there his father or mother brought something in for baby. Okay. Now here's a nice bird. I don't know if any of you have ever seen this bird, but they are found in our creek areas, and it's a robin, but you can't call it a red robin, so we'd have to call it a pink robin, because it's quite pink with a black head and a black back. A pink robin, that's the male at the nest. Okay. That's the female sitting on the nest. She hasn't got any colour at all. She's just a little grey-brown bird. And next shot will show you the nest, which is rather interesting. The nest is made out of moss, and they plaster little bits of lichen on the nest, and they line the nest with that down of the tree ferns or the man ferns. And it's a very cosy little nest, and the eggs inside are white, brown and green, and they match the nest. So it all ties in together. It looks conspicuous there, but in the bush, it's hard to see. It only shows up there because I've put a flash on to show it up. Okay? Wonder what you call that fella? I reckon some of you know what that is. It's a kingfisher, an Asian kingfisher, and he's got a little fish in his beak there. He's a nice little fella. Okay. This fellow isn't so nice. He's a jackass, and he kills other birds and robs their nests. So he's not so nice. We won't say any more about him. We don't like him much. Okay. Now we're back on to honey eaters, and this is a strong-billed honey eater, and he nests up in, well, there it's a dogwood, and they don't feed much in our garden, this honey. They feed in the bush trees, the strong-billed honey eater. Okay. But what happened here, the little bird in the nest isn't a honey eater, it's a cuckoo. And you know what cuckoos do? They never build a nest. They find a nest they think suitable, and they put their egg in that nest. And in this occasion, the adult cuckoo had put its egg in this honey eater's nest, and that's the young cuckoo there. Okay. Now, when I was a bit fitter, that's how we used to get up near the birds. We called it a hide, and it's on a scaffold that we put together in bits, built it up, and we could go up quite high near to the nest to get our photos. So we didn't have to use a long lens. We were very near the nest. The birds soon got used to us there. They didn't see us. We're inside the canvas top, which was camouflaged, and that's how a lot of these photos have been taken using that piece of equipment we called a hide. Okay. These are little honey eaters. They are black-headed honey eaters, and that's a pair of them there, and they've got their nest there. They're only found in Tasmania, the black-headed honey eater. Okay. That's the same bird at its nest. It's a very nice, neat little bird, little black-headed honey eater with a white eyebrow. Okay. This is a bit different. There, the adult bird, the one with the black head, is trying to feed its babies down in the nest below. You can see one baby there in the nest. The other bird is an older young bird for another nest, and he's coming in for a free feed, but I don't think he got it. I think the adult bird got down and fed the young one, and the other bloke had to go and hunt for himself. He's big enough to do it anyway. Okay. Now, I don't have to tell you what that is, I don't reckon. It's a parrot, isn't it? Beautiful bird, and it's called a blue-winged parrot because it's got that beautiful blue wing there. And only a small parrot, but still it's a very nice bird. Its nest is in the hollow tree there. You'll see it on the next slide. There's the baby, and it's being fed by its mother in this case. Babies came out of the hole to get some food. Actually, what happened, I went up one morning and the little fellow's on the ground. He'd fallen out. And if I hadn't have been there, he would have died. But I was able to put him back in the nest, and he survived. It saved his life. Okay. This is our common parrot. You've probably seen this one. It's called a green rosella, and it's a Tasmanian bird, only found in Tasmania, quite common. Again, nests in hollows in the trees. We'll show you another picture of it now. That's it. Yellow underneath, bit of blue in the wing, touch of red over the beak, and it's the green back, green rosella. Okay. This parrot is called a swift parrot. I presume it's because it flies fast, and it does. It flies very fast. And they're not so common, but they're found in the area too. Okay. What about this one? He's the black cockatoo, yellow-tailed black cockatoo, and they're quite common in the area. And they feed on the banksia flowers and other things. They love to just tear the banksia flowers to bits and get nectar and anything else that's available in the banksia. The yellow-tailed black cockatoo, okay. Now, do you know what a migratory bird is? Or anything that migrates is something that moves from one area to another, from one country to another. And these fellows come down to Tasmania in the spring from New South Wales and up that way, further up too, and they make their home in Tasmania and breed the young ones, and then they go back across the oceans to New South Wales or Queensland. It's called a satin flycatcher. It does catch flies, it feeds on insects. Okay, that's the male. That's the male again. Shiny colour, satin. That's where they get his name from. Just a little nest on the branch of a tree there. This is the female. She's quite different. She's got a bit of browny colour under her throat, and she's at the nest there. Female satin flycatcher. Okay. Now we've got a different bird now. We're coming into the swallow family, but it's not. It's a wood swallow, or a tree martin it's called, and again they find a hollow in an old tree, or not necessarily old, but a hollow in a tree, and have their nest there. And this fellow's flying in to its nest. The tree martin. Okay. Oh, there she is, hanging on to where the nest opening is. Okay. Lovely wing. They all the swallow family have beautiful wings, and they can fly very quickly, and that's the same bird in flight. Okay. This is another one of the swallow family. It's called a dusky wood swallow. Very nice little bird, and she's got a nest there in a hollow in the tree, just a few sticks there. Okay. There she is with an insect, looks like a bee probably. In fact, the beekeepers don't like these birds much because they do eat a few of their bees. But there you are, they've got to live, haven't they? So that's the wood swallow. Okay. That shows the beautiful wings of these birds. They've got magnificent wings and they fly very quickly, and that's the way they're built. They're built to fly quickly, to catch insects on the wing, and that's the dusky wood swallow in flight. Okay. Now, we're having a change. This is a native orchid. I suppose you've seen native orchids in the bush. This one is called the hyacinth orchid. Does it look a bit like a hyacinth? Probably does. So that's the hyacinth orchid. Okay. This one is called a potato orchid of all things, not because of the flower, but because it has a bulb in the ground like a potato. And so he grows up from that, and he's called the potato orchid. Okay? This is one of the sun orchids. It's got a few dots on it, so they decided to call it the dotted sun orchid. Quite a nice one. Okay? Oh, we get through. Green hood. It's not the ordinary green hood. I think this one's called the tall green hood. And the flower is a bit like the other green hood, which I think we'll see in a minute. Okay. Oh no, this is not a green hood. He's got a beard. He needs a shave, the fella. And it's called the beard of the orchid. That one. It's called a strap beard because it's got a little strap coming out the back, out the bottom. You see, a strap beard. It's even got eyes, hasn't it? Next one. This fellow's the red beard. He's different. He's the red beard. That one. Okay. These are called pink fingers. They're dainty little orchids, and are called pink fingers. Okay. That's that's called the duck-billed orchid. And some people really study these and they go mad about these native orchids. They say they are quite nice really, and there's lots of them. The duck-billed orchid. Oh, this is a good one. I'm getting a bit throaty. This is called a flying duck orchid, and we'll show you why on the next picture or so. There they are. Bit like a flying duck, isn't he? And so that's where he gets his name, the flying duck orchid. Okay. Now what's this one? Yeah, I think it's the apron, is it? I think it's called an apron orchid. Not quite sure of that, but I think that's what it is. Okay. That's quite an unusual one. That's called a red beak. See, it's got a sort of a beak, and it doesn't grow very tall, only about 6 inches. And the red beak orchid, okay. I've got the name of that one. Where are you, Mary?
She's gone. Oh, here she is.
The what? Thank you. Horned orchid, you can see the horns, you see? That's the horned orchid. Okay. Now there's a group of them all growing together, about 3 different species together. Pink fingers and a beard and some little blacks there. Okay. Oh, that's just a patch of typical bushland up in the Rocky Cap National Park. You get the Banksias and heath in front, and quite a big variety of different wildflowers there in that area. Okay. Now, there's some people there. That's my son, Mary, and also my daughter. And they're looking across Anniversary Bay. Okay. That's another Banksia, a different sort, that one. To the other one. Okay. Oh, these are interesting. They're called Blandfordias, or some people call them Christmas bells, because they come out about Christmas time up in the park there. Quite interesting flowers. You all know what that is, don't you? Oh, I don't have to tell you. It's one of the wattles. Yeah. Okay. There are a couple of caves in the area, 3 in all, and this one had water in it, and some of the boys wanted to investigate it, so they took a canoe up and went up into this cave in their canoe. Okay. It's called the wet cave because of the water. I reckon you've all seen that bird before. It's a swallow. It's called the welcome swallow, and there's a little series of this. It's flying into its nest. We'll just go through these. There it is. Well, it's putting its wings so as to stop it. They fly very quickly, and they bring their wings down like that. It acts like a brake, stops them in their flight. Okay. There, it's got its feet down. I say it's the landing gear down, ready to land. Okay. And there she is. She's landed on the nest, showing those beautiful wings that the swallows have. Okay. And that's what she went for, to give some food to her young ones. And Junior's getting a feed. Okay. And that's a close up. How would you mothers like a heap of babies like that looking at you, asking for something to eat? They all wanted it, but only one got it on that occasion. Okay. Now we're back to honey eaters. This little fellow's called a spinebill. He's got a long spine bill, which is useful for getting into bell-shaped flowers and others for food. Next they eat out of the flowers. Okay. This is a yellow throat. You know why? He's got a yellow throat. He's one of our Tasmanian honeyeaters, the yellow-throated honeyeater. Okay. Now this one had a foreign egg in the nest. They lay about 3 eggs, sometimes only 2, never 4. And so we presume that was a cuckoo's egg, the pinkish one. And it proved to be that, as you'll see in the next couple of pictures. There they are, two young honeyeaters hatched out there, and the one on the left, he's the young cuckoo. He's a villain. Let's see what he's going to do. He says to himself, I don't want these other birds in here, I want all the food myself. And so he gets them on his back. He's only a day old, mind you, and he's blind, but he gets the little bird on his back, and he goes round and round the nest, as we'll see in the next picture. And he gets to the top of the nest, and he tips them out. And that's the end of them, and he's there on his own. And there he is, about a fortnight later, on his own, getting all the food, and he's growing bigger than the parent bird. Okay. There's another one. It's a different one. But see the size of the young cuckoo, and the honeyeater has to look after that young bird that's got into its nest. Okay. Oh, this is a bronze-winged cuckoo. Another one in the cuckoo family. Okay. Another honeyeater found up in the National Park, tawny-crowned honeyeater. Okay. There she is, at the nest. This is a little thornbill, a Tasmanian thornbill, and there she's cleaning out the nest. They look after the nest, they take the droppings of the birds out and take it away and keep the nest clean. Tasmanian thornbill, okay? Oh, this honeyeater, it's a spinebill, it came onto that nest, and it was a bit of a thief because it was looking for nesting material for itself. And it started to pull bits out of the nest, but the little bird came back and sent it on its way. So it didn't get much anyway. Crescent honeyeater, male, and the next one is the female of the crescent honeyeater. We've got a lot of honeyeaters in Tasmania. Okay. This is a common one that you see in your gardens. It's the New Holland honeyeater with the yellow in the wing. Sometimes that's called the yellow-winged honeyeater. That one. And there it is in flight, showing the yellow in the wing. Okay. There's a couple of crescent honeyeaters feeding on a yellow poker. Okay. This is in the honeyeater family. It's a bigger bird. It's a wattle bird called the little wattle bird. You hear them in the morning calling, a raucous call. Okay. There she is at the nest with some young ones, the little wattle bird. Okay. This fellow is a bigger wattle bird. It's called a yellow wattle bird, and the next picture will show you clearly why it's called a wattle bird. They're called wattles, and they hang down the side of its face. That's the yellow wattle bird, only found in Tasmania. This is what you might know as the Duke Willie, or the grey thrush. He's got a nice call, and that's him at his nest there. Okay. Oh, this is the same bird, and you see what he's got for the baby? He's got a lizard or a skink to feed the babies with. There. Okay. This is what we commonly call a summer bird. If you want to know its full title, it's a black-faced cuckoo shrike. Nobody's going to remember that. So we call it a summer bird, and it's coming in with food for the young. Okay. This fellow's got an unusual meal. It's a stick insect that it's caught, and it's feeding that to the babies. A stick insect, okay? We're back to the robins. Now this is a robin. You mightn't think so because it's got no colour. It's called a dusky robin, but it's only found in Tasmania. It's still a robin, okay? How many we done? But this is the last rack, so we're nearly through. This is the same bird, the dusky robin, feeding a little, I think it's a skink, to its baby. Okay? And there's the two of them. The mother is at the nest, and father's brought something in for it to eat, for her to eat. He's very good like that. Dad looks after Mum. Okay? Now these are little birds, nice little fellas. It's called a pardalote, or you might know them as diamond birds, because they burrow out, drill out a hollow in the bank for its nest, and that's the spotted pardalote. Okay. When we're photographing birds, we're at the nest for quite a while and quite close, and the birds get quite friendly. And this little bloke was coming in, and I think that's Fox Dowling's finger, and he was just sitting on his finger, and then he went into the nest, and didn't seem to be frightened at all. Okay? And there's the bird at the nest, up the burrow a little way, feeding the young ones. Flying in to the nest, showing the spots and a red tail, pretty little bird. Okay. That's another flight shot, showing the back and the head, the spots and the tail, right? And that one's flying in, you can see the burrow right in front of the bird. It would have folded its wings quickly and gone straight in to that hole with the food for the young one. There's another one. He's going fast, that one. Same bird. This is the striated or the striped pardalote. Similar, but not quite the same. That's got a little insect too to feed its young ones. Okay. Now, this is the one that's round in my room. The little blue wren. Superb blue wren he's called because he's such a beautiful colour. And there he is at his nest. There he is. That's similar to the one round in my room, sitting on a banksia cane. Not quite the same. Okay. That's the female. No colour at all, just a plain grey little bird. Okay. Well, that's the one round in the room. Yeah, sitting on the banksia cane, showing his full colours. Okay. And this is another little wren. It's called an emu wren because you can't see the tail feathers there much, but they're long feathers, a bit like emu feathers. It's a very tiny bird, very elusive, hard to see, and they just move quickly in the undergrowth. That's the male with the blue throat. Okay. There he is. He was peeping at me. He was a bit scared. Right. This is a field wren, a striated or striped field wren, and that's got a, I think it's a spider in its beak there for its young one. This is a lark, or a pipit, a ground lark, and they nest on the ground. Okay. This is the brown-tailed thornbill, another tiny bird that nests near the ground. Okay. This is the yellow-tailed thornbill. You can see a bit of the yellow in the tail there. Okay. This is a bird that you very rarely see. It's called a rail, Lewin's rail. It lives in the rushes round little swampy areas, and very elusive Lewin's rail. Okay. Now this is a nice bird. It's got a red tail and a red beak. He's named after his tail. He's called a firetail. It's a finch. That means it's a seed-eating bird, and that's the firetail. Okay. There he is, just taking off. Nicely marked, barred underneath, red beak and red tail. And there he is. He makes a great big nest, a real loose nest, but that's okay. That's where he goes, or she goes. This is an introduced finch, the green finch, the European finch. And the next one you all know, I think. You've all seen the goldfinch, I reckon. They're around our gardens and quite common, okay? This is one of the hawks, and there are a few of those about. We're feeding that one. That's his head. This is the white one. They're goshawks actually. That's the white goshawk, same family, only pure white. And that's the wedge-tailed eagle. And that's a brown goshawk with two young ones. One's much smaller than the other. You all know what that is? A kookaburra with a lizard for its baby. Okay? And that's, of course, would have to be an owl. It's the spotted owl. A little fellow, that one. Now, these are unusual birds. They're called frogmouths, tawny frogmouth. They sit still and they look like part of the tree. That's the pair there, tawny frogmouth. That's their nest. That's a few sticks and the baby, little fella, okay? There she is, feeding little baby. Flying in to baby. And she's just landing there. Got her landing gear down, wings out, coming to feed the baby. Now, this is called a scarlet robin. We've seen some of the other robins, but this is a scarlet robin with a scarlet coloured breast and a bit of white on top. That's the female. She's got a little bit of colour, not much, a little bit. Okay. There she is on her nest, snuggled down on her eggs. Okay. This one's called the flame robin because the colour is different. It's like flame colour and slightly different habits, but that's the flame. There she is, or he is rather, with a worm for baby. That's the female. The female's got no colour at all. She's come in to feed baby with some worms. And this fellow, he's got a ladybird for baby. They have a real good varied diet, right? A little chrysalis there, that'll be quite hard, but Junior took it all right, and he's having his breakfast or dinner. What about this one? That's a bee. I hope it's dead, otherwise it might sting the little bloke. Okay. And that's different food again. All this different food they have. Okay. But I thought this was the best of the lot. Mother arrived with a cricket. You've heard the crickets calling, haven't you? And she just popped that into Junior's mouth and he said, "Thank you." And that's it. The end. And that nest is good. There you are.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Thanks very much.